The Lion King. A story that has defined generations. A timeless tale of family, betrayal, and destiny. We all know the saga of Mufasa and Scar, the noble king and his treacherous brother. But have you ever wondered how it all began? What were their lives like before the tragedy? Before the throne cast its long shadow over their brotherhood? The official books and series have given us glimpses, fragments of a puzzle that paint a much deeper, more complex picture of these two iconic characters. Today, we're piecing it all together. We're going back in time, to the very beginning, to witness the first fateful meeting of Mufasa and Scar. Let's set the scene. In the heart of the Pride Lands, under the wise rule of King Ahadi and Queen Uru, two princes were born. The first, arriving with the golden light of dawn, was Mufasa. He was strong, robust, and bore the radiant coat of his father. His name, meaning king in a regional dialect, seemed to seal his destiny from his very first breath. The Pride Lands rejoiced. A future king was born. But a little while later, another cub arrived, smaller and weaker than his brother. His fur was a darker, earthy brown, more like his mother, Uru's. He was named Taka. In Swahili, Taka has a simple, almost mundane meaning: dirt or trash. Right from the start, the names given to these two brothers set them on vastly different paths. One was destined for greatness, the other was ... not. Growing up, the differences between Mufasa and Taka were as stark as night and day. Mufasa was the very image of a future king. He was confident, charismatic, and naturally skilled in hunting and fighting. He took his responsibilities seriously, always eager to learn the ways of the kingdom from his father. Ahadi, he was the golden child, the heir apparent, and everyone in the Pride Lands knew it. Taka, on the other hand, was always in his brother's shadow. Physically, he wasn't as strong. He was leaner, more wiry, and often struggled to keep up with Mufasa's boundless energy. While Mufasa excelled with brawn, Taka developed his mind. He saw things others missed, understood the subtle politics of the Pride Lands, and often felt his insights were overlooked in favor of Mufasa's more direct approach. Their father, King Ahadi, had a clear favorite. He poured all his attention into Mufasa. Grooming him for the throne, he would spend hours teaching Mufasa about the circle of life, patrolling the borders, and explaining the duties of a king. Taka was often left behind, forgotten. This constant neglect fueled a slow-burning fire of resentment in Taka's heart. He loved his brother, but he couldn't escape the feeling of being second best, of being inadequate in his father's eyes. Queen Uru, however, saw the growing rift between her sons. She tried to balance the scales, spending more time with Taka and encouraging his unique talents. She recognized his intelligence and sensitivity, but her love, while genuine, couldn't completely soothe the sting of his father's indifference. Taka craved Ahadi's approval, a validation he felt he could never win. This brings us to a pivotal moment, a story told in the book series, A Tale of Two Brothers. It's the story of how Taka got his scar and, in doing so, shed his old name to become the villain we know. One day, boiling with jealousy over Mufasa's seemingly perfect life, Taka devised a plan. He wanted to prove his own worth, to show his father that he, too, was brave and capable. He approached Mufasa with a cunning idea. He told his brother that if Mufasa wanted to truly prove himself as a future king, he needed to do something that would make their father, Ahadi, look bad. He suggested a confrontation with a particularly grumpy and dangerous Cape buffalo named Boma. Taka's plan was simple. Mufasa would challenge Boma, and when Boma refused to move from the waterhole, Mufasa would look weak and ineffective. This, Taka thought, would finally give him a chance to shine in his father's eyes. Mufasa, ever trusting of his younger brother, agreed. He was confident in his abilities and didn't suspect any ulterior motives. So, Mufasa went to the waterhole and politely asked Boma to share the water, explaining that the land was in a drought and all animals needed to drink. As Taka predicted, Boma arrogantly refused. Following the plan, Mufasa backed down, appearing to have failed. Taka watched from the shadows, a flicker of triumph in his eyes. This was his moment. He then went to Boma himself, but instead of asking, he roared. He told Boma that Mufasa had issued a royal decree. If Boma didn't move, Mufasa himself would challenge him to a fight. This was a lie, a dangerous escalation. Taka was playing with fire, manipulating both his brother and the formidable buffalo. Enraged by this supposed challenge, Boma and his herd charged. But they didn't charge towards Mufasa, they charged directly at Taka. His plan had backfired spectacularly. He had intended to humiliate Mufasa, but instead, he had put himself in mortal danger. Panic seized him as the thundering hooves closed in. Seeing his brother's life at risk, Mufasa didn't hesitate. He leaped into action, roaring and positioning himself between Taka and the stampeding herd. But he couldn't stop them all. One of the buffaloes, in the chaos of the stampede, struck Taka with its sharp horn, slashing him across his left eye. The pain was searing, and Taka collapsed, wounded and terrified. The stampede was eventually scattered by the arrival of King Ahadi, who had been alerted by the mandrill Rafiki. Ahadi was furious, not just at the danger, but at the foolishness of his sons. But when he learned the truth that Taka had orchestrated the entire event out of jealousy, his disappointment was immense. As Taka recovered, the wound on his face healed into a permanent, jagged scar. It was a physical reminder of his jealousy, his failed scheme, and his moment of terror. From that day on, he insisted on being called Scar. It was no longer a name given to him at birth, but one he chose for himself, a self-inflicted brand of his pain and resentment. He declared, "I am Scar," embracing the mark of his failure as his new identity. This event was the turning point. The bond between the brothers, already strained, was now irrevocably fractured. Mufasa, though he had saved his brother's life, felt betrayed. He saw the depths of Scar's jealousy and the dangerous lengths he would go to. The trust was gone. For Scar, the incident solidified his worldview. He saw Mufasa's heroism not as a brotherly act of love, but as another moment where Mufasa got to be the hero while he was left wounded and shamed. His father's subsequent disappointment only confirmed his belief that he would never be seen as an equal. The scar on his face became a symbol of everything he hated: his weakness, his secondary status, and his brother's effortless superiority. This is the tragic backstory. Before the throne, before the hyenas, before the stampede that would change everything, there were two brothers, one born to be king, the other born in his shadow. A childhood of neglect and jealousy twisted Taka's love for his brother into a bitter rivalry. He tried to outsmart fate, to prove his worth through cunning, but it only left him permanently marked, both physically and emotionally. The first meeting between Mufasa and the lion who would become Scar wasn't a single event, but a long, slow process of growing apart. It was a series of moments: a name, a father's preference, a failed plan that pushed a sensitive, intelligent cub down a dark path. He wasn't born a monster. He was made one. Forged in the fires of jealousy and neglect, Taka died, and Scar was born, forever looking at his golden brother with envy from the shadows. And from that moment on, the fate of the Pride Lands was sealed. This deeper understanding adds so much weight to their story, doesn't it? It transforms their conflict from a simple good versus evil narrative into a heartbreaking family tragedy. What do you think? Does knowing this backstory change how you see Scar? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Pride Lands history, be sure to like and subscribe for more. See you next time.